In this video series, you're going to learn how you can set up your own photo blog. I'm also going to give you some tips on how to monetize your new blog. Now, the first thing you're going to need to do is have a domain name and a hosting account to host that domain name. You can go to GoDaddy or Namecheap to register your domain name. So what you do here is very simply just search for a domain name that fits with what your photo blog is going to be about. So just name it whatever you want here. You can either use it like a niche blog where you give it a name of a niche, or you can just use it as a personal blog and call it something catchy the way you want it. I already have a name that I'm going to use in mind. So what you would do at this point is you would go ahead and register that domain and pay for it, and then you have to get a hosting account for it. I suggest cPanel hosting. That makes things a little bit easier as far as installing scripts is concerned. There are different types of hosting packages you can use. If you go to something like this site and you go to web hosting, you'll find that they have some plans that are very reasonable. This baby plan is very good, $7.95 a month. You get unlimited domains, disk space, and bandwidth. That's a really good bargain, so you could order that one, for instance. And it's just go through and fill out the form, tell it what your domain name is, do the payment. And what they'll do is they will send you an email telling you what you need to set your name servers to. Name servers point your domain at your hosting account. Once you have that information, you can go back to your domain manager and you can set the name servers. Let me just show you what I mean by that. Okay, so this is what my domain manager looks like. And what I would do is I would just go and open the control panel here, and then I can change the name servers. Okay, and then you go into name servers. Okay, and then what you want to do is put in your name servers, put in I host my domains with another provider down here, and then put the name servers in these boxes that you were given by the hosting provider. Click OK, and then what will happen is they will get set up. Things will propagate. If this is a brand new domain registration, that usually happens pretty fast, just within a few minutes. If you've had the domain for a while, it could take up to 24 hours for your hosting account and your domain names to get hooked together. Okay, so now we have our domain and our hosting account set up. What we're going to do now is we're going to install our scripts. We're going to use WordPress for our photo blog. There are other photo blogging platforms out there, but they just don't compare to WordPress. I did look over a few of them, and they were lacking in several ways. WordPress is very powerful for a lot of things, and photo blogging is no exception. So what we're going to do is we're going to install the latest version of WordPress. Just go to wordpress.org, and then what you want to do is download the most current version. So click there where it says download, then download the zip version over here and save it to your desktop or somewhere on your computer where you can easily get at it. Once it's downloaded, you want to unzip it. You can download a free unzipping tool called 7-Zip, and then all you do is you right click on the file and then you use the 7-Zip option and then extract files. Windows also has a built-in extractor that you can use just by clicking on it, and then you can just say extract files. I like to use 7-Zip, it's much faster. So all you have to do at this point is click OK, and it unzips everything for you. At this point, we're ready to upload the script to our hosting account. To do that, you're going to need what's called an FTP client. There's one called FileZilla. It's free, and again, you can just do a search on FileZilla and download it to your computer, and then install it. Here's what FileZilla looks like after you install it. On the left side, you have your drives on your own computer. The right side is where your hosting account is going to appear. So all you have to do to get started, you can put in your host name here, which is your domain name, and then the username and password that you chose when you set up your hosting account or the one that they emailed you. and then just click Quick Connect and you'll connect up. There's also a Site Manager, and what you can do is enter your entries in the Site Manager, and then they are available time after time. So at this point you can just connect to your server. Okay, so here's my server over here. And on this side we need to find our WordPress install. So let's go and find that. You just navigate through your hard disk here. Okay, here it is here, WordPress 2.92. And our files are inside the WordPress directory in there. So these are the files we're going to upload. On this side, we need to be in the public_HTML directory, at least if we're using this hosting account. Your hosting provider will tell you where you need to upload your documents so they're visible on the web. They may be in public_HTML, htdocs, or they might just be in the root. So you need to find that out before you start. If your website doesn't show up after you've uploaded everything, that is why, because you haven't put it in the right spot. Okay, on this side, just click on the first one, then hold down the Control key and then click the A, and that'll select them all. Okay, and then what you want to do is right click and click Upload, and that'll start uploading everything to your server for you. Okay, so wait for that to finish. In the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our cPanel for our hosting account. So that's just your domain name /cPanel in your browser bar, and that'll take you to your cPanel account. At which point you should see something like this. Now, this is assuming you're using cPanel hosting. It may not be. But what we're going to do is set up a database. So if you're using cPanel hosting, it'll be something like this. If you're not, then you have to find the function where you can set up a MySQL database. Okay, so we're going to go to MySQL databases, and then we're going to create a new database here. Let's just call this pblog. You can call it anything you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, so we'll create the database, and then we need to create a username and password to attach to the database. So again, I'm going to call it pblog, and then we'll give it a password here. Let's call it password. And type it again. Okay, this is a weak password, obviously. Don't use password. Think of something more creative. You can also have it generated for you here. It'll generate a secure password. At this point, click Create User. Okay, and it's created user pblog with the password. Okay, so our database is all set up and we're ready to install WordPress at this point. Actually, there's one more thing we need to do. We need to attach the user to the database. So if you go down here, it says Add User to Database. You find your username in the drop-down list. So if you have more than one, it may be buried in the list. Same with the database. Find the one that you want to attach to it. Click Add. And that attaches them together. Make sure you click All Privileges. Okay, now you have a user that can access all the database and use all the functions within. Let's check how our uploads go in here. Okay, a few left yet. Okay, so at this point everything's been uploaded. Now what we want to do is we want to open up a new browser window and then just go to where our site's located. So the domain name I'm using is called rv-boondocking.info. So I'm just going to key that in up here. Let's just go here and key that into the browser bar at the top. Okay, and the first thing it tells us is there doesn't seem to be a configuration file. Okay, so what we need to do is just tell it to create one. Okay, and then it tells us that we need database name, database username, password, our host, and so on. Okay, so let's click Let's Go. Okay, and we put in our SQL database information in here. So we can get that from over here. So it's rv-boond_phblog. It's imperative that you take the whole thing, although we only call it phblog. It appends some characters on the front so that it's identified as being our database. Okay, so let's just copy this. And our database and username are the same. That's how I set it up. So we can do the same thing here. We'll just paste it in. Okay, password is password. Database host, localhost, that's usually going to be correct. If it's not, your hosting provider will be able to tell you what it is. Now down here we have our table prefix. You don't need to change this. If you are going to install multiple instances of WordPress in one database, then you're going to need to change this for every subsequent install. We have unlimited number of databases that we can use with this hosting account, so we never have to worry about that. But if you get an account, a hosting account with only one database, then this is how you can install multiple instances in one database. Okay, let's submit here. Okay, here's where it's trying to create the wp.config.php file, but it couldn't do it. The reason is because our folder is not writable. If we go back to our FTP program, and here's public_HTML where our files are located. Right click on that, go to File Attributes, and change it from 750 to 777. Now let's just hit the back button here and then click Submit. Okay, now I'll be able to create the config file. When we're all done here, we're going to set the permission back to 750. So we'll run the install, and here we fill out the title of our blog, put in an email address, and make sure that allow the blog to be in the search engines is checked if you want it in the search engines. And then click Install WordPress and it'll install. Okay, here it gives you your admin username and password. Okay, so copy this. And click Login. Now it should have also emailed that password to you. Okay, so we'll type in admin and our password here. Log in. Okay, we've logged in for the first time. Let's go to my profile page, like it's saying, warning us up here, and let's change our password. Okay, update our profile. Okay, and we're all set. Now, let's go back here. Let's right click here, File Attributes, set this back to 750 for security reasons. You don't want to leave that the way it is. Okay, a WordPress blog is now installed. In the next video, we're going to start setting up the essential plugins and get it to look the way we want it to look. Now we're going to install what I call essential plugins. Now, some of these are going to be for search engine optimization. If you don't want your blog to be visible in the search engines and you don't want people to find it, in other words, you're setting up a private blog or at least semi-private, then you can skip everything to do with search engine optimization. But in most cases, you're going to want to do that. Before we install the plugins, let's go to settings and set a couple things up here. First of all, the default tagline is just another WordPress weblog. So change that to something that makes sense for your photo blog. While we're in here, you can decide if you want people to be able to register for your blog and comment. And you can also set your universal time code here. Okay, and save the changes. Okay, so let's get on with our plugins now. What we do, just go to Plugins. Now, even before we install anything, what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Akismet anti-spam plugin. So just click Activate there. Okay, now you must enter your WordPress.com API key. So click on that. If you don't have an API key, what you will need to do is go to WordPress.com and set up an account. They will then email you an API key. So just put your API key in here. Okay, so I'll just paste it in here and we'll update. Now you can also have it automatically discard comments on posts older than a month if you want. You can just check that if you want to have it do that. That way it's really hands-free as far as spam control is concerned. Alright, now let's go to Add New, and this is where we're going to add our plugins. So what we need to do here is we're going to do a search, and we're just going to go to Popular here, and this is going to be where we're going to find a couple of them that we can download right away. Okay, the first one is the All-in-One SEO Pack. Okay, so just click Install and install now. Now here what you have to do is put in your FTP information. This is the same information you use when you upload your file. So basically it is your domain name is your host name, your username and password for your hosting account, and connection type is FTP, and then click Proceed. Okay, so put that in there, click Proceed, and it takes a little bit here, but then it installs it for us. Okay, so it's installed for us. We're going to go back to the plugin installer, and then we're going to go back to Popular again. This time we're going to install Google XML Sitemap. This also helps us in our search engine rankings. So we do the same procedure here. Click Install Now. Okay, click Proceed, and it'll install that one for us as well. Okay, so that one's installed as well. So if we go back to our plugins here, just click on Installed. What we can do now is we can activate them. So first let's activate the All-in-One SEO Pack. Okay, and it must be configured, of course. So just click here and we'll go and configure it. Okay, so first of all, you could think about making a donation. It's a good plugin. So if you use it on lots of your blogs, it's a good thing to do. We'll enable it here, and then we can fill out some of the stuff here. Now this is the homepage title and the homepage description and the keywords here. So you could put those things in there. That's really all you need to do with this plugin, because the rest of it has been optimized already for you. For instance, post titles will have the post title with a pipe and then the blog title after them. This is optimized well for search engines. Okay, other than that, you don't really need to do anything else unless you want to. Okay, so go ahead and put the information in here that's relevant to your site. Okay, so we'll fill that out and then we'll update the options. Okay, now the next thing we need to do is go back and set up some more things here. So we'll go back to our plugins. Now what we need to do is activate the Google XML sitemaps. This notifies Google of any changes to our blog, and it gets it to come back and search for us. So let's go into settings here, and then let's go into XML sitemap. Okay, now before we go any further here, let's go to our FileZilla. Click Reconnect here to reconnect up. Make sure we're in public_HTML. Now what we need to do is create a writable folder. The reason we need to do this is because the sitemap needs to write files into a folder, and we don't want to unlock public_HTML to be writable to the world as a security risk. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new directory. So right click, create new directory. You can call it anything you want. I just call it sitemap. I always do. Like that. Okay, then go and find sitemap, right click on it, click File Attributes, and set to 777. Click OK. Okay, now we can go back here and we're ready to install our sitemap. Now, really all we need to do here is roll down to our sitemap location, which is right here, and right near the end you'll see it says sitemap.xml. Right before that, put in the word sitemap or whatever you called your sitemap directory and slash like that. Okay, so it says /sitemap/sitemap.xml here. You need to do the same thing down here. Make sure you have the syntax right there. Okay, and really that's all we need to do here. Now you can change any of these other things if you want. For instance, how often it's going to go and look for changes. I always just leave it the way it is. It works just fine. Now I update my options. Now at this point we haven't built a sitemap file yet. And we're not going to, because right now all we have in this blog are junk posts. If we go and look here, okay, this is what our blog looks like. We don't really want to ping Google at this point because we got nothing to show it. Okay, let's go back here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the search engine optimization, since that's what we did here before we go and install the photoblogging plugin. So what you want to do is you want to go to permalinks. Now remember, this is only if you want to search engine optimize your blog so that it's easy to find in the search engines. If it's private, you can skip the plugins that I just showed you, and you can skip this step as well. What we're going to do here is go to custom structure, and then you're going to put in the following tag here. So what that's going to do is, instead of your link looking like this with a question mark, P equals, and the post number, it will have the post category and the post name in the URL. Okay, before we click Save Changes, let's go back to FileZilla once more. Let's go to the root directory. And then again, let's make public HTML writable. The reason we're doing this is it makes it easier to have the permalink code put in for us. Otherwise, we got to do it manually. So if we just make this one change here, let's go back and save changes. Okay, when we come back in here, everything's set up. Now, if we didn't do that step, we would see some code in a box in here that we would have to put in manually into our .htaccess file. Okay, so let's go back here now, and let's set the permission back the way it was to 750. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go and install a couple of more plugins. What we want to do here is add new. Now what we're going to do is we're going to type in Photoblog in here, all one word. Like that. Search plugins. And we're going to use yet another Photoblog. This is a really good photoblogging plugin. So click install. Again, we're going to click install now and proceed. Okay, we got an error here. If that happens to you, just go back and do it again. Okay, so we're just going to do it again. Okay, so there it is. It's installed it for us a second time. So we'll activate this plugin. Okay, and that's all installed. In the next video, we're going to go over some setup. Okay, we have all our plugins installed. Now it's time to do some general setup things. So let's go to settings. There's a few things we need to do in here. We've already been to the general screen, but if there's anything you want to change in here, this is the time. Okay, we can go to writing now. And what you can do in here is you can change the ping list if you want. I've given you a ping list with the series, and what you can do is just paste the entire ping list into here. Okay, so here it is. All you have to do is just copy all this in, just highlight it, copy, and then just paste it in here. Okay, so at this point we'll just save the changes. Okay, and that's all set up. Okay, now let's go to reading. Now, this is where you could set a home page. You don't want to do this. using the Photoblog plugin. So you're going to want to leave that as it is. What you can do is show how many posts you want to show on a page. If you want to change that from 10, you can do that. And how many are going to show in the syndicated feeds. Also, in your syndicated feed, you can decide whether you want to send full text or a summary. Okay, leave this at UTF-8. And if you made any changes here, you save those changes. Discussion, this is important. This is our comments. Now remember, we activated the Akismet plugin, so that'll look after a lot of the spam for us. But you want to decide if you're going to allow comments, and it's probably a good idea that you do. So make sure that you set this appropriately. Now I suggest that you uncheck the first two here, attempt to notify any blogs linked to from within the article, and allow link notifications from other blogs. You want to allow people to post comments on new articles. Okay, comment author must fill out name and email. What I like to do is make sure that they're registered. So I unclick that and I click users must be registered and logged in to comment. Okay, and then if you want to be notified on comments, and what I suggest you do is make sure that the comments are held for moderation. Okay, so an administrator must always approve the comment. This will make sure that a bunch of crap doesn't get onto your blog. Now that's entirely up to you. If you don't want to take the time to do it, you can uncheck it, but you might get some stuff on your blog that you don't want on there. The comment author must have a previously approved comment. If you're going to moderate them anyway, you can uncheck that one. Down here you can fill out your blacklists and your moderation queue. Everything's going into the moderation queue anyway, so you can avoid having anything even show up in there by putting words in the blacklist such as prescription, Viagra, that kind of thing you could put in here. Okay, down here we have avatars. So you just set this the way you want the avatars to be handled. It's pretty self-explanatory here. We'll save our changes here. Media. Okay, this is just the size of the thumbnails and so on in post. We're not going to need to worry about that because we're going to have that handled by the photoblogging plugin. Okay, privacy, we should have already set this. We did on the install. I'd like my blog to be visible to everyone, including the search engines like Google, Bing, Technorati. Make sure that that is set if you want your blog to be able to be seen by the search engines. Okay, permalinks, we already did this in a previous step. Okay, this is your upload file. Now, a little while ago, I had a message that said my uploads directory was not found. You probably noticed that at the end of the last video. So what you have to do is make sure that you have inside WP Content a file called uploads, a folder called uploads that's writable. So let me show you how to do that. We're going to open up FileZilla again. Okay, we go to the public HTML directory. Then what we need to do is go to WP-Content, and you'll see that there's no uploads directory in here. Actually, if we just, let me show you the message that I was talking about here. Let's go back to dashboard. Okay, so our WordPress uploads directory doesn't exist. That's what it's talking about. So all we have to do is right click, create a directory called uploads, and then select the directory, do a file attributes, make this 777. Click OK. And then you have that installed. Okay, if we were to refresh this now. Okay, so the yet another Photoblog plugin created some stuff inside there. Don't worry about that too much because that happens automatically once you have that directory created. Okay, so let's go back where we were here. And if we want to change the name of the uploads directory, this is where we can do it. I don't suggest you do that. Now what we need to do is delete the garbage that's on here right now. Okay, automatically during the install it put a hello world post on here. Let's trash that. And it also put pages on here. Okay, let's trash that. Okay, now we have a blank blog. So the first time we make a post, what will happen is it's going to set up our sitemap for us. And remember before that we didn't actually create the sitemap at first because it was just garbage in here. So we want to make sure that we have valid stuff in here. Okay, the one other thing we want to do is set the way we want our blog to look. Now you probably aren't going to want to use this particular template here. So what we can do is we can download a new one. Okay, so what we do is go to add new theme. And you can pick any theme that you want, but I'll show you one that I really like. It's called Life Thoughts. So we can just put that in here, Life Thoughts. Now, of course, you don't have to follow what I like here. You can do anything you want. You could search on Photoblog, see if there's any Photoblog themes that you want to use. You can use any theme you want. It doesn't have to be one for photoblogging. Okay, we're not finding it that way. Let's try Photoblog. So you can use one of these if you liked. I'm still not finding what I want here. Let's try it this way. Okay, here it is here, Life Thoughts. This is the one I like to use. Of course, again, just pick one that you like and go with that. But I'm going to use this one for my example here, so I'm going to install. Click Install now. And proceed. Okay, and then we can just activate the theme that we choose here. Okay, our blog is now all set up. Now the last thing we need to do is set up the Photoblog plugin and start photoblogging. And we're going to do that in the next video. Okay, now it's time to set up the photoblogging plugin. Save this part for last. Okay, so we go to Settings, and then we go to YAPB. Okay, now what we have to do in here is first set up the options here. And first one, we can post by the date that's on the photograph. It has something called EXIF data that is carried with a photograph from the digital information when you took it from the digital camera. So you can either have it post from that date. So if you have a picture that's 2 years old, then your post is going to be 2 years old. Okay, so you want to be careful about that and decide whether you want to do that. I'm going to turn that off in this case. You can automatically assign it to a specific category. We haven't set up any categories yet, but if you always want to post to one category, this is where you can do it. And you can enable the upload for content pages. Okay, this is the pages part, which we see here, pages. It's automatically going to do it for posts. So you can decide whether you want to enable it for pages or not. I'm going to enable that. Okay, and you can have EXIF tags actually appear on your site. Okay, so if we were to check this, we could enable tags filtering, and then there'd be a list of different tags here we could use. And when we post a photo, it'll learn what tags our camera put on there. Okay, I'm going to still disable this right now. And then down here we have ping services. Okay, so you could put in your ping list in here again if you like. Okay, it's already going to get pinged anyway from our ping list, so you don't really need to put this in here. Okay, so if you made any changes here, you should save your changes. Okay, we have thumbnail options. Now what happens with thumbnails is it uses a library on your computer. It just uses PHP actually to resize them. And this has an effect depending on how much memory is available on your server. So if it runs out of memory, you can use something called the convert library. And if you're going to use that, you need to find out where ImageMagic's convert program is located and put the absolute path to that in here. Now you can find this out from your hosting provider if you need it. But before I went to this step, I would try and post some first and see how it handles your thumbnails. If you have trouble with that, then you can contact your hosting provider, find out where ImageMagic is installed, and then you can put the absolute path in here. Okay, here it's just going to convert it to XHTML, which just replaces these characters instead of this one. Okay, you don't need to worry about that too much. Your default type of image that's going to be output, so you can pick that. I'd leave it a JPEG. Okay, if you have interlaced type of photos in GIF or PNG format, is handled like that. Okay, just leave that unchecked unless you have a reason to check it. Okay, your feed options, you can decide whether you want your images embedded in RSS2 and Atom feed. Okay, and then down here you can put custom HTML before and after your content if you like. So you could put a URL to your site or something like that in here if you wanted. Okay, embed as thumbnail. On here you can have it as enclosures and embed it in a different size if you want. Or you can use the Yahoo Media RSS function if you like as well. Okay, I just take the defaults on this and then automatic image insertion. And all this does is it links things to your thumbnail if you want it to. You can take that off if you want. And your thumbnail will not link to the post page if you don't have that here. Okay, you can have it without target in the same window or in a new window if you want. Okay, and then down here we have how it handles our home page and our single pages, our archive pages, and our content pages. Okay, you should just leave these at the default unless you don't like the way it does it. Okay, and there are several things you can change here if you don't like the way it handles it, but I think it handles it just fine with the defaults. Okay, so we'll just save the changes, and our Photoblog plugin is now all set up. Okay, now what we need to do is make our first post. All right, so go to post, and what we're going to do is add new. This is going to be our first Photoblog post. Now you notice that we have our image right here. So what we do is we browse for an image on our computer, and then we can post the EXIF data if we want right here. Okay, now it's unchecked automatically because that's what we did in our options. Okay, and then you can put any text down here that you like as well, just like a regular post. Okay, so first thing you want to do is put in your post name up here. Now, actually, we should set up our categories first, otherwise it's going to go into uncategorized. So it's probably a good idea to set up any categories you're going to want to use here. Okay, so we'll go campsites I like, and we'll just add that category. Go, and then you can add as you go if you want. But I'm just going to start with the one. Okay, now let's go back to our post here. Let's go browse for an image. Just click browse and find it on your computer. Okay, so let's see. We can find a picture here. Okay, so then we give it our title. And then we can put any description down here now. Okay, and then choose your category over here. Down here you can choose whether you're going to allow comments on the particular post. We set that at a global level, so that's always going to be what shows down here, but if you decide to change it, you can do that here. And then this is our all-in-one SEO plugin. We can add some description and keywords to every post to make it more search engine friendly. Okay, at this point we'll click publish. Okay, here it is. Let's have a look at our blog now. Let's go visit site. Okay, so here it is. And everything seems to be working okay as far as the thumbnail is concerned. When we click either on the picture or on the title here, we should go to the single page. Okay, and we do. Okay, so that's how we get started. Now let's go back to the admin side here. We didn't set on the side here, we didn't set up our widgets, so let's do that while we're at it. Okay, let's go to Appearance, and let's go to Widgets. Let's set what we want on our sidebar. So what I like to put on there is categories first, and you can change the title here if you want. I'm just going to leave it actually. And then recent posts I like to put on here. Change that to recent photos. You can change how many you want to have on here if you like. We'll save, close. Okay. Now we should also go to links here while we're at it. Let's get rid of all this stuff. It's not going to show anyway, but we don't need it in here. Okay, back to our site. Okay, so now we have our categories and our recent photos. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is monetization. Okay, let's talk about a couple of easy ways to monetize your site. What we can do is we can use affiliate programs or link to any site that we have that has something to do with our photo blog. So this is a camping blog. If I have a product, like a digital product that is camping product, I can do that. Or if I have a physical product store that I've created from Amazon or something like that, I could point to that from here. Okay, to do that, what I would do is I go to links, I add a new link. I would then link to my product, and then I would add links to my widgets. Okay, so just as an example, I went to ClickBank. I found a product on camping, so I'll just click promote. Okay, I then put my ClickBank nickname in here and create a hop link. If I want, I can put a tracking ID pointing that just tells me where it came from. Let's create that. We'll grab this. Go back to here. Family camping. Family camping ebook. Web address, paste that in there. And then down here, if we click that, it'll open in a new window. And that's all good. Okay, let's add the link. All right, now what we have to do is go and add the links widget back onto our site. Save that. What we could do actually, let's make a new link category. Let's call it camping links. Let's add. Okay, now that we've got our camping link in here, we need to edit our link. Should have done this first. Edit the link and then set it to camping links. Okay. Now things will look a little better on our widget here. Okay, camping links. Alright, let's go back to our site now. And we'll see here's our camping links, and Family Camping ebook takes us off to our affiliate product. Now, probably one of the easiest ways to monetize your site as well is to put some AdSense code on it or some sort of contextual advertising, Yahoo Publishing Network, or whatever you like, you can put on your blog as well. So what we could do to add AdSense code is to add a simple plugin. So let's go to plugins, and then let's do add new, and then let's do a search for AdSense. Or YPN or whatever you want to put here. Let's do a search plugins. We'll use the all-in-one AdSense and YPN. Just click install here, install, and the usual thing here, proceed and activate. Okay, so there it is, all-in-one AdSense and YPN. Go to settings. AdSense. Just pick your ad network here, AdSense, YPN, or random, and then you put your AdSense ID. Now this is your account number that goes here, and a channel if you want a channel. Same thing with YPN here. And then you pick the size, and you can make your blocks colored. If you want to change the color to more closely match your site, you can put your colors in here. Ads to show per page, and where you want them to show. So it's as simple as that. Okay, so I'm going to put my AdSense code in here. Okay, I'm not going to bother with the channel. Type of ads. Okay, so text, image, or text and image. It's up to you. Corner style. These are all things that you can do on AdSense. Okay, and then our size here. Let's make it a 200 by 200. I'm just going to leave the default colors. I could make it match my blog by looking at the style sheet and determining what the color should be, make it match more closely. And when I want one ad, I'm going to put it at the top left. Okay, I'm going to make it show on all pages. You can exclude it here. After you've tested that it works, you can turn this off here so that you don't see the ads yourself anymore. Okay, we're all done here, so let's save this. And AdSense is now on our site. It may not show up at first because it is contextual advertising, and it has to actually figure out what our site's about before it's going to show up. Okay, here it is down here. So it is showing up now. Okay, so that's another way that you can monetize your site. That concludes the video series on creating your own photo blog.